The FIA expected Ferrari to struggle in Canada. Instead, Lewis Hamilton suddenly looked fast enough to fight Max Verstappen head-on. And now new evidence discovered after the race is creating serious tension across Formula One. Because while Ferrari openly admitted they still suffer from a major engine deficit compared to Mercedes, Hamilton's late race acceleration and energy deployment patterns shocked rival teams. Something changed, and the paddock noticed immediately. For certain moments during the final stages of the Grand Prix, the SF26 looked completely different under power. Sharper exits, stronger deployment, more aggressive acceleration. That should not have been possible based on Ferrari's own performance concerns after Canada. But here is where the story becomes explosive. Canada was already Hamilton's best Ferrari weekend yet. For the first time all season, the 7-time world champion looked completely synchronized with the SF26. The braking looked natural. The tire management looked elite. The confidence looked real. At the exact same moment, Charles Leclerc was calling the weekend one of the worst experiences of his entire career. Same Ferrari. Same engine. Completely opposite emotional reality. And now the FIA's growing interest after Canada is creating one terrifying question inside the paddock. Did Ferrari accidentally discover a hidden performance window during Hamilton's race? Because if the SF26 really unlocked stronger energy deployment late in the Grand Prix, while Hamilton is simultaneously adapting this quickly to the car, Ferrari may suddenly become far more dangerous than anyone expected. And once you understand what rivals started noticing in Hamilton's final stint against Verstappen, the entire story behind Ferrari's Canada performance changes completely. Subscribe if you love Formula One stories that reveal what teams desperately try to hide. At first, nobody inside Formula One thought Hamilton's final stint in Canada looked suspicious. Impressive, yes. Unexpected, definitely. But suspicious? Not immediately. Then rival teams started comparing the sector data. And suddenly, something strange appeared. Because during certain moments late in the race, Hamilton's SF26 looked significantly stronger under acceleration than Ferrari's overall weekend pace suggested it should. That instantly caught attention across the paddock. Especially because Ferrari had already spent most of the weekend looking vulnerable on the straights. The team itself admitted they were still suffering from a serious power deficit compared to Mercedes. So how did Hamilton suddenly become so aggressive during the closing laps against Verstappen? That is where the speculation began. Now this is important. There is no indication Ferrari broke regulations. Nothing suggests illegality. But Formula One teams obsess over patterns. And Hamilton's late race energy deployment behavior looked noticeably different from the opening stages of the Grand Prix. The exits looked sharper. The acceleration looked cleaner. The car carried momentum more naturally down the straights. And rival engineers immediately started asking the same question. Did Ferrari accidentally unlock a hidden operating window inside the SF26 during the race itself? Because if they did, that changes the entire interpretation of Canada. Think about trying to tune a musical instrument in the middle of a concert. At first, everything sounds unstable. Then suddenly, one adjustment makes the entire performance come alive. That may be exactly what happened to Hamilton. And the fascinating part is this. The change did not appear instantly. It built gradually. Lap after lap, Hamilton looked more connected to the Ferrari, more confident under braking, more stable through traction zones, and eventually, dangerous enough to attack Verstappen directly. Meanwhile, Leclerc experienced the complete opposite trajectory. Charles later admitted he never found confidence with the SF26 all weekend. That contrast matters enormously, because if one Ferrari suddenly discovered stronger deployment efficiency while the other remained trapped in instability, it suggests the issue may not simply be raw horsepower. It may be how the power is being used. That is a massive difference. And honestly, that possibility should worry the rest of Formula One more than Ferrari's actual deficit numbers. Because raw power disadvantages are difficult to fix quickly. Energy deployment optimization is different. Sometimes teams unlock performance suddenly once drivers adapt their braking patterns, throttle application, or battery management correctly. And Hamilton may have done exactly that in Canada. Remember something important here. This was already his most comfortable Ferrari weekend yet. For the first time all season, Hamilton looked instinctive inside the SF26 instead of cautious. That matters because elite drivers often unlock hidden performance once they stop fighting the car mentally. And Ferrari engineers could literally watch that transformation happen during the race. The steering corrections disappeared. The tire management improved. The braking confidence increased lap after lap. Then after the safety car, everything suddenly aligned. Fresh tires, cleaner air, lower fuel load, and maybe a better understanding of how to maximize the Ferrari power unit. That possibility is exactly why rival teams became interested after Canada. Because if Hamilton accidentally discovered a more efficient deployment strategy during the race, Ferrari's future ceiling may suddenly be much higher than expected. Especially since the SF26 still appears to have strong cornering balance despite the engine concerns. And now Ferrari faces a fascinating internal situation. One driver adapting rapidly. One driver losing confidence completely. One side of the garage suddenly extracting performance nobody expected. The other still searching for answers. That split may become one of the defining stories of the season moving forward. Because Canada revealed something extremely important underneath all the confusion. Lewis Hamilton may finally be starting to understand how the SF26 truly wants to generate speed. But this is where the Canada story becomes genuinely dangerous for the rest of the grid. Because the more engineers analyzed Hamilton's final stint, the more one possibility started gaining attention inside the paddock. What if Ferrari's real breakthrough was not raw engine power? What if it was finally understanding how to unlock the power they already had? That changes everything. Because throughout the season, Ferrari's biggest weakness was not just top speed. It was inconsistency. One lap the SF26 looked stable. The next lap it looked nervous under braking and weak on exits. But during Hamilton's final stint against Verstappen, something suddenly looked synchronized for the first time all year. The braking, the tire temperatures, the deployment timing, everything started working together. And that is exactly why rival teams became so interested after Canada. Because if Hamilton accidentally found a cleaner energy deployment rhythm during the race itself, Ferrari's ceiling may be far higher than the championship currently suggests. Think about opening a combination lock. At first, nothing works. Then suddenly, one tiny adjustment aligns every mechanism at the same time. That may be what happened with Hamilton and the SF26. Especially because the transformation looked gradual instead of artificial. The more laps Hamilton completed, the calmer the Ferrari became underneath him. That matters enormously, because true performance breakthroughs in Formula One often happen exactly like that. Not through one magical upgrade. Through drivers finally understanding how to connect every weak point together without overstressing the car. And Canada may have been the first race where Hamilton genuinely achieved that. Meanwhile, Leclerc's weekend continued collapsing in the opposite direction. Charles later admitted he never managed to get the tires into the correct operating window and felt disconnected from the Ferrari almost the entire weekend. That statement becomes even more important now. Because if Hamilton was slowly unlocking better deployment efficiency through smoother tire and braking management, while Leclerc kept overheating and destabilizing the car, the performance difference suddenly makes much more sense. Same Ferrari. Completely different energy behavior. And this is where Ferrari's internal tension becomes fascinating. Because now the team faces a very uncomfortable possibility. Hamilton's driving style may currently match the SF26 better than Ferrari's own simulator predictions do. That is huge. Especially after Ferrari already admitted they still suffer from simulator correlation problems between virtual data and the real car on track. So now Ferrari has two competing realities inside the garage. The simulator says one thing. Hamilton's race pace says another. And after Canada, engineers can no longer ignore the results. Because while Ferrari officially still appears weaker than Mercedes overall on raw power, Hamilton's late race performance suddenly suggested the SF26 might still contain hidden performance windows nobody fully understood yet. That should seriously concern the rest of Formula One. Because elite drivers become terrifying once they stop fighting the car mentally. The steering gets smoother. The tire life improves. The energy deployment becomes more efficient naturally. Everything starts connecting together. And Canada may have been the first time Hamilton truly drove the Ferrari instinctively instead of analytically. That is a massive turning point, especially with Monaco approaching next. A circuit where rhythm and confidence matter far more than pure horsepower. Exactly the areas where Hamilton suddenly looked transformed. Now imagine what happens if Hamilton arrives there carrying this momentum. The entire paddock narrative changes instantly. Suddenly Ferrari no longer looks like a team trapped by weaknesses. It starts looking like a team slowly discovering how to unlock itself. And honestly, that possibility may explain why rival engineers became so interested in Hamilton's Canada data afterward. Because if Ferrari truly discovered a more efficient deployment rhythm late in the race, and if Hamilton is simultaneously adapting to the SF26 this quickly, then Canada may not have been a lucky podium at all. It may have been the first warning sign that Ferrari's real performance level is finally starting to wake up. But Ferrari's biggest challenge after Canada may not actually be the engine anymore. It may be expectation. Because once the paddock believes a top team has discovered hidden performance, pressure changes instantly. Rival engineers become obsessed. Media attention explodes. Every sector time gets analyzed frame by frame. And now Ferrari suddenly finds itself in a very dangerous position. The team spent most of the season trying to explain weaknesses. Now people are starting to wonder if the SF26 is actually much faster than it looked. That is a completely different kind of pressure. Especially because Canada created one terrifying possibility for Ferrari's rivals. Hamilton may finally have unlocked the car emotionally. And Formula One becomes extremely dangerous when Lewis Hamilton starts trusting a machine completely. You could already see the transformation during the final laps against Verstappen. The overtakes looked natural. The braking confidence looked real. Even the energy deployment appeared cleaner and more controlled. That was not survival anymore. That looked like understanding. And inside Ferrari, engineers are now desperately trying to figure out exactly why the SF26 suddenly behaved so differently during Hamilton's final stint. Because if the answer truly comes from smoother energy usage and more efficient deployment timing, then the implications are enormous. That kind of performance gain can spread quickly across future races, especially once drivers fully understand how to repeat it consistently. And this is where the story becomes incredibly uncomfortable for Charles Leclerc. Because while Hamilton was accidentally revealing hidden performance potential inside the SF26, Leclerc was experiencing the exact opposite reality. Charles later admitted he never managed to bring the tires into the correct operating window and felt disconnected from the car all weekend. That statement matters more than people realize now. Because if Hamilton's smoother adaptation style helped stabilize deployment and tire behavior naturally, then Leclerc's aggressive approach may have unintentionally amplified the Ferrari's weaknesses instead.